Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Newsroom. Today is the 11th of August 2021. These are the stories that we'll be discussing during the course of the show. We'll begin with the arrival of the Foreign Minister of Iraq, Excellency Dr. Fawad Hussain, who has arrived in Islamabad on a two-day official visit on the invitation of Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab, his Pakistani counterpart. There have been delegation-level talks. There has been a memorandum of understanding that has been signed between the two parties. And of course, the bilateral relations have been discussed at length between the two countries, including Afghanistan and Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This is going to be our leading segment. Then we will be discussing from the Troika, the meeting of the extended Troika that is being held as we speak. Senior officials from Pakistan, the United States, Russia and China are going to be meeting, are meeting as part of efforts to prevent Afghanistan from slipping into another civil war. What should be the regional approach to the end game in Afghanistan? This is going to be our second segment. Then we will be talking about the environment, climate change, and how this report by the IPCC warns that it might be too late if people do not take the necessary measures. And it was said that it is the people who are behind what is happening to climate in the world. And finally, today is the National Minority Day that is being celebrated today across the country, and there have been resolves that have been shown by the Prime Minister and the President to further safeguard the rights of the minorities in Pakistan. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the visit of the Foreign Minister of Iraq, Excellency Dr. Fawad Hussain, who is in Islamabad on a two-day official visit. More in the following report.
Foreign Minister of Iraq Dr. Fawad Hussain arrives in Islamabad on a two-day visit to Pakistan. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi received the Iraqi Foreign Minister on his arrival in Islamabad. The Iraqi Foreign Minister also planted a sapling in the Foreign Office. During his visit, the Iraqi Foreign Ministers held in-depth exchange of views on all aspects of bilateral relations, reviewed close cooperations in multilateral organizations, and held consultation on issues concerning the Muslim Ummah as well as on key regional and international issues. The Iraqi Foreign Minister will also call on the Pakistani leadership and have meetings with other dignitaries. Pakistan and Iraq have close fraternal ties founded on strong affinities of faith and culture, and Pakistan wants to further deepen and broaden mutual cooperation in diverse fields. The relationship is enforced by a similarity of views on a range of regional and global issues. The visit of the Iraqi Foreign Minister comes against the backdrop of a number of ministerial-level visits from both sides in the past few months, which signify the importance accorded by the two countries to augmenting the bilateral relationship. Foreign Minister Qureshi visited Iraq in May 2021. Further high-level exchanges are envisaged in the coming months. The visit of Foreign Minister Dr. Fawad Hussain is expected to add further momentum to the positive trajectory of brotherly relations between Pakistan and Iraq, the Foreign Office said.
We've been joined by Mr. Hiwa Osman. He's a political analyst who joins us from Iraq. Mr. Osman, thank you very much to have joined us. The visit of the Iraqi Foreign Minister to Pakistan, a two-day official visit, a lot of importance is being given to the relationship between the two countries. How important are the relationship and the bilateral cooperation between the two countries, and how can they move forward?
Of course, any kind of relationship for Iraq with any country is very important, specifically with Pakistan. It's seen as particularly important. There are Shia pilgrims who come from Pakistan to the holy shrines in Iraq. This is on one side. On the other side, there are some important aspects that Pakistan can be helpful for Iraq, areas like food security, technology, finance, the various or software development. All of these issues can be quite useful for Iraq. Iraq is trying to readjust its regional and international relations, and Pakistan can be quite an important player in the process of rebuilding development of Iraq. So the visit is quite welcomed, I would say, amongst Iraqis, although there are other internal priorities for the Iraqi government. So and there are internal challenges that face Iraq. So the news of the visit might not be of much of might not make it to the headlines inside Iraq, but this is mostly because of the other internal problems that the country has.
All right, Mr. Osman, a memorandum of understanding was also signed between the two respective sides on political consultations. How important are these consultations looking into different things that are, of course, affecting the region, whether it be the issue of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, whether it be the issue of peace in Afghanistan and the future of the Afghan peace process? Do you feel both countries can work together and help other countries, including Afghanistan and others, in order to bring peace in the region?
Well, I think the importance of this, of the political consultation between the two countries, because Iraq is quite worried that it may face the same future as as we are seeing now in Afghanistan. The Americans are talking about withdrawal from Iraq. Withdrawing from Iraq, the way things are now, it will only mean a takeover by the pro-Iranian militias in the country, and it could complicate the situation much further. Currently, the Iraqi security forces, the Iraqi army are not ready to take over security or to take care of security of their own country, to uphold the rule of law. And that's why the Iraqis, when they look at what's going on in Afghanistan, they are quite worried. And if a solution is found for this situation in Afghanistan without America, with this American withdrawal, this could bring good news to the Iraqis because, as I said, if America withdraws the way things are today in Iraq, and there are no indications that the situation will change in Iraq anytime soon, they could be facing a similar scenario to Afghanistan.
All right. Mr. Osman, finally, Pakistan and Iraq both are members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the OIC, as well as the United Nations. Now, looking at what is happening across the world, in different parts of the world, that plagues peace and the peace process for the different countries across the globe. And of course, we've seen the high-level visits also that we've had between the two nations. Our foreign minister visited Iraq in May this year as well. Do you feel also that both countries will have an important point of view to discuss as far as the commonalities to move forward, as far as political consultations, as far as a joint point of view on different issues across the world is concerned?
I think the key issue that both Iraq and Pakistan can be working on is how to fight extremism, how to fight these extremist groups, how to have a different narrative to these extremist groups that, in the name of Islam, of course, they conduct various terrorist activities, and to spread moderation and prove to the world that Islam and democracy are not mutually exclusive. Democracy can happen. Extremist groups are not welcome in our societies, and extremist tendencies and ideas can be fought. Looking at the Pakistan and the Iraqi examples of what extremists can do if they are left will be a good area for joint discussions and future cooperation possibly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hiwa Osman, political analyst, joining us all the way from Iraq, and of course talking about the bilateral close and fraternal ties that exist between the two countries, that is Pakistan and Iraq. The foreign minister of Iraq, that is Excellency Dr. Fawad Hussain, is in Islamabad, and he's here on a two-day official visit on the invitation of his Pakistani counterpart, Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the extended Troika meeting that is being held today, in which officials from Pakistan, the US, Russia and China are meeting in Doha. More in the following report.
Afghanistan endgame presents one of the most debilitating strategic challenges to not only regional actors but also global players. As Taliban have captured 8th provincial capital in 6 days with lightning speed, questions are being raised about staggering billions of dollars spent on training the Afghan National Defense Forces. The colossal American investment of approximately $89 billion in last 20 years being spent upon training and equipment of Afghan security forces is seemingly producing no dividends against the backdrop of Afghan security forces meltdown and capitulation. United States has already exhibited its disregard for unfolding situation by asserting that it was up to Afghan security forces to defend the country after Taliban militants captured another provincial capital on Monday, along with border towns and trade routes. The incumbent US President Joe Biden has already stressed that the US military mission in Afghanistan will end on August 31st, suggesting that the Afghan people must decide their own future and that he would not consign another generation of Americans to the 20-year war. The deteriorating security situation in Afghanistan is raining alarm for international community and hence to curb escalating violence. Representatives of extended Troika, Pakistan, the United States, Russia and China are expected to meet in Doha today. The special representatives of these four crucial actors last met in April in Doha, Qatar, and previously also held unannounced sessions in what appeared to be an effort to develop regional consensus on the Afghan endgame. The timing of this meeting is crucial since surge in violence is already seizing space for intra-Afghan talks.
Now, to talk about the latest developments as far as the Afghan peace process is concerned, we've been joined by Lieutenant General Raza Muhammad Khan Saab. He's a defense analyst and a senior analyst as well. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Sir, the extended Troika meeting is being held in Doha as we speak. Four important countries are getting together, including Pakistan. Looking at what is happening in Afghanistan right now, how important is this meeting?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think, of course, this is a very important meeting. And we hope that the Troika Plus would be able to get some kind of a concession from the Taliban. But I think it is unlikely because the Taliban have declared that they are not willing to undertake a ceasefire. So probably, they should now also be looking at getting concessions from the current Afghan government. And asking them to show flexibility. And as it has been stated clearly in the Troika Plus declaration, that the Afghan government should openly invite the Taliban for talk. This has not happened, and I think this is one of the reasons why both sides are now trying to, make the decision happen to fighting, which is very, very unfortunate for the people of Afghanistan. Coming back to, what could happen in the future, I think first of all, the Afghan government should see the reality on ground. They should stop blaming Pakistan for harboring Taliban and, for having safe havens. For the logical reasons that right now, the Taliban are in possession of 3/4 of Afghanistan, which includes, I think, more than 230 districts, 9 provincial capitals, and particularly the north and northwest of Afghanistan. They are in possession of all the border checkposts in the north with Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, also with Iran, and at least one border checkpost with Pakistan. So they are in control of so many things. They have, all the weapons, equipment, ammunition, which they have captured, from the surrendering Afghan troops. And they really do not Pakistan at all for any kind of, support which the Afghan.
Then, sir, why these allegations? Why these baseless allegations? And these baseless allegations are not only coming from the Afghan side, they are also coming from certain sectors in the US.
Because I think they want to hide whatever weaknesses they have in their plans. This is their default mode. This has been their default mode, both of the United States and their Afghan partners, and also their proxy India. And I think that is the main reason. But the reality on ground is totally different. I think it is dawning on them. And the Washington Post reported yesterday that they are now assessing that Kabul might fall. sooner than that later. Some estimates say that within 3 months, others are saying within a month, and they're now concerned about evacuating, the additional persons of the U.S. embassy in Kabul. So that is the reality on ground, and this is
Well,
happening.
speaking of evacuation, even India has, shut down its last consulate in Afghanistan and has evacuated its personnel as well. Speaking of India, sir, what about the relationship that US was trying to build between India and the Afghan Taliban? Do you feel this is going to be a success of some kind in the future, or do you feel the Afghan Taliban are going to go their own way?
The Afghan Taliban have made one commitment, I think, to all its neighbors, and that is that they will not allow their soil to be used for terrorism against any country. We are sure that they mean what they are saying. This also means that all raw agents on Afghan soil or Tariqi Taliban fighters, ISIS fighters, Al Qaeda fighters who used to come to Pakistan and carry out heinous terrorist crimes, they will also be handed over or dealt with by themselves in Afghanistan. And as far as India is concerned, I think they are aware that India has in the past and even now they are playing a very negative role because they want that the present Afghan government should continue to stay in power. And they demonstrated that practically when as president of the UN Security Council, they asked for a special meeting for to discuss Afghanistan and
In which
both
Pakistan
India
was not invited and it was not
Pakistan
allowed to attend.
and Pakistan was blamed by both sides. So I'm sure the Taliban are aware of this kind of role, and recently there have been articles in the Free Indian media where they're saying that India is very concerned because they will not be able to use Afghanistan, quote
Hmm.
unquote, for special operations.
Hmm.
And the special operations is to use their Afghan proxies and RAW and others for terrorism against Pakistan.
Hmm. All right, so there's another aspect to all of this, is the large amounts of money that were given by the US government to the Afghan government in order to raise the Afghan National Defense Security Forces. There have been different tweets, whether it be International Analyst or our very own Minister for Information, Fawaz Hussain Chaudhry Saab, who says that people of Afghanistan and people of USA must question the leadership of Afghanistan as to where the $2 trillion US dollars vanished that they received to build the Afghan National Army. Will the Afghan government ever answer that?
Well, I think they should. While all the $2 trillion were not spent on the Afghan government and the Afghan armed forces, they were also spent, on the sustenance of the U.S. Armed forces. But it is definitely, a very valid question. As we know of today, the acting finance minister of Afghanistan, he has left the country.
Yes.
He was actually accused of huge corruption. So that is a serious issue there. Also, right now, I think the morale of the Afghan armed forces is very low because any force, whose pays and allowances are being paid by a foreign government and whose equipment is being given by them, whose food is being given by them, would obviously, not as committed or motivated to continue fighting among, another contending faction of their own country. So I think they need to realize this. And once again, I would say that I think the United States in particular need to put more pressure on the present Afghan government to come to the negotiating table and agree to the formation of an interim government. And I think once that happens, then the prospect of a ceasefire at the present position will become very bright.
All right, so also a very latest statement today given by our foreign minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab says that Pakistan wants durable peace in Afghanistan and will continue to play, and that Pakistan will continue to play its constructive role in this regard despite baseless allegations of Ashraf Ghani. How do you view all the efforts that have been put by the Pakistani administration, by the Pakistani government, in order to bring some kind of peace in Afghanistan? And do you feel these efforts will have success, if not in the shorter term, then in the longer term?
I think Pakistani efforts have been recognized internationally, particularly by the US, and Pakistan has done whatever it could, and it will continue to do that. What is more important is for the other members of the Troika now not only to help and assist Pakistan, but also to do more. All of them, I mean, the Russians, the United States, the Chinese, all of them, they need to do more, and they need to focus, on the political aspect of the Afghan peace process. And within that, I think the United Nations Security Council should pass a fresh resolution asking for all fighting to stop, and including, a promise to the Afghan people of the establishment of an interim government, which could then take the country forward. But let me again very briefly comment, on the modus operandi of the Taliban. They are being blamed, for fighting all over the country. Actually, their strategy is based on mainly on persuasion, where they have formed, councils of the elders who go to the Afghan armed forces, to their leadership, and ask them to peacefully leave the place, and they even give them an allowance to go home. And they promise them that if they do that and lay down their arms, then they will not be harmed. And I think this is happening in many, many districts, and this has happened in many of the border posts and also in the provincial capitals. So I think that also needs to be kept in mind, that they are actually using a strategy which is a combination of persuasion and fighting. So that is probably one reason why they are having, the successes all over the country.
All right. And finally, sir, when you see what is happening in Afghanistan, as per the tweet of Fawad Chaudhry Saab, the 8th province has fallen to the Taliban. Where does that leave the people who are being displaced? They have not been given any advantage in the past during the Afghan government as well. All the money that was given by the US did not trickle down to the people, and they live in extreme poverty. What is going to happen now? Do you feel that organizations such as the United Nations will jump in? Do you feel that the extended Troika meeting today might talk about the displacement of the people and a future of those people in Afghanistan that are quite troubled as we speak?
I think this is a very relevant question, and this relates to the plight of the poor people of Afghanistan, whether they are the refugees or whether they are the IDPs. So I think a representative of UNHCR should actually be sitting there in the meeting of the Troika, to apprise the Troika about now the problems of these people, and how the United Nations or other donors could immediately come to their assistance, because it could, lead to an emergency situation. And I think for that matter, if any help and assistance is needed by the Taliban, or in the areas controlled by the Taliban, or in the government controlled areas, through neutral sort of organization like the International Red Cross and UNHCR, I think they must immediately come to play to save the people from their agony.
All right. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Raza Muhammad Khan Saab, defense analyst, senior analyst, to be talking to us about the latest situation as far as Afghanistan is concerned, and the meeting of the extended Troika that is being held in Doha as we speak. 4 important countries, that is China, Russia, the United States and Pakistan, are getting together to talk about how to move forward as far as bringing peace in Afghanistan is concerned. Let's go to our third segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns a report that has come out from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, that paints a very red-faced picture of climate change around the world and the future of climate change, pointing the fingers at the humans as the reason for what is happening to the world. More in the following report.
The world stands at the brink of an unmitigated disaster as vulnerability to climate-induced effects escalated in recent years. While lending credence to climate warnings of experts, a landmark UN report on climate change painted the bleak future of planet. According to decisive findings of UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, heat waves, heavy rainfall, and droughts will become more rampant and extreme. Besides presenting unequivocal evidence of deteriorating global climate landscape, it claimed that within the next 2 decades, temperatures are likely to rise 1.5 centigrade above pre-industrial levels. The report is disseminated less than 3 months before a decisive climate summit in Glasgow known as COP26. The findings of this report are a somber reminder that the next decade is going to be critical to securing the future of our planet. Pakistan recognizes its responsible role as global actor and hence to play its part in curbing global warming. The country punched above its weight by contributing more than its capacity. The recent inauguration of the Miyawaki urban forest at Sagian as part of the monsoon drive under the unprecedented 10 billion tree tsunami campaign exhibits Islamabad's rigorous climate commitments. It's pertinent to mention here that Miyawaki Forest absorbs carbon emissions and protects the environment. Premier Imran Khan urged the nation, particularly the youth, to plant and protect trees for a better environment in Pakistan.
Maryam Shabbir, leading environmentalist, joins us online. Maryam, thank you very much to have joined us. This IPCC report is a code red for humanity. As the report itself says, it indicates many key points that include the increase in global surface temperature and the 5 last years that have been the hottest on record since 1850, and of course the rate of sea level rise as well. Human influence, they say it is very likely to be the cause of all of that, 90%. What do you have to say on that, and how should we move forward in order to curtail some of the changes of climate change?
Thank you, Umar, for highlighting this very important report. I think this is the responsibility also lies with the media, that we should also be more focusing on such reporting and such programs. As you mentioned, that this report highlights that there will be more warmer temperatures in next 2 days, in next 2 centuries, and next 2 decades. I'm sorry, and it would be 1.5 degree increase in temperature that is expected if business as usual continues. And there will be more droughts, more heat waves, less colder months, and more prolonged summer we will witness, and we already, I think, are witnessing in different parts of the world. And this report also states that there would be no corner of the world and which would not be affected due to climate change in multiple ways. And I think examples are already in front of us. We see that in North America, there are forest fires which are burning wild species, of course, and there are landslides and floods in Pakistan and India these days. And there are forest fires in Turkey as well. We have seen floods in Germany and Belgium. So you see around the corner there are different events, climate change related, which are already affecting. And this report also says that from 1850 to 1900, there was rapid change of climate change, which was 1.1 degree increase in temperature. And we have to limit in 1.5 degree temperatures. And if business as usual continues, it would be very difficult for us to survive in such kind of environment, and we can leave other species like animals.
In Pakistan, how do you feel that we have tackled climate change, whether it be the 10 billion tree tsunami, whether it be the Miyawaki urban forest in Punjab that was recently also inaugurated by the Prime Minister, and other important changes, no use of plastic? Do you feel these are enough or more needs to be done?
I think when we talk about climate change, Umar, we also need to understand that this is not only the efforts of only one country which would contribute, but efforts of all the countries and all individuals and all the governments and all the leaders in every capacity, be it from businesses, be it from policymakers, be it a leader of any country. So yeah, Pakistan is doing much better when we compare to other countries, but we also need to see that Pakistan is not doing enough when it comes to industry, which are bigger emitter. We need to introduce clean technology in existing industries. We need to introduce better engines when it comes to road transportation, and regarding that, we also need monitors to really monitor such emissions. And also, it is very important to highlight that only Pakistan cannot, do enough. Other countries also need to play its role to limit carbon emissions. And we also have to put cap on, fossil fuels, which is a bigger source of carbon dioxide emissions into the air. And this report also that took me to report again. This report highlights that the carbon sinks in other spheres have been reduced in oceans and all, and
of course, but Maryam, more needs to be done by the entire world. It's not just Pakistan that is going to bear the brunt of the entire world. Important countries such as the US and the EU also need to put in their best as far as curtailing the changes that are happening in order to bring about some kind of positivity as far as the future of climate change is concerned. Thank you very much, Maryam Shabbir, to have joined us. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, today is a National Minority Day that is being observed today to commemorate the contribution of minorities in the progress of Pakistan. Our Qaid said, you are free to go to your temples, to your mosques, or to any other places of worship in the state of Pakistan. You may belong to any religion, caste or creed. That has nothing to do with the business of the state. More in the following report. And with that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow.
Pakistan came into being for the Muslims of subcontinent who wanted their separate homeland. After Pakistan was founded and Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah safeguarded the rights of all people who preferred to be citizens of Pakistan in his historic speech on August 11, 1947, the country became a home to all people of all backgrounds, castes and religions without any discrimination. The white in our flag represents the minorities and our constitution protects the rights of all people. Unlike India, Pakistan has never put on a facade of secularism while carrying out pogroms of weaker groups and minorities. Our guiding principle has been inspired and derived from Islam and represented in our constitution. Article 25 of our constitution guarantees that all citizens are equal before the law, and Article 5 provides for protection of minorities to profess and practice their faith, and Article 33 puts responsibility on the state to discourage prejudices. This is the reason behind Islamic Republic of Pakistan's far better record at protecting its minorities than those hiding behind the veneer of secularism. Hindus are Pakistan's largest minority. They are represented in our bureaucracy, judiciary, parliament, and business community. A few days back, a Hindu temple known as Ganesh Temple was ransacked by a mob in Rahim Yar Khan. The entire state machinery swung into action right away. The Supreme Court of Pakistan also took notice of the incident immediately. Those who failed our minorities, which led to the attack on a Hindu temple, were reprimanded right away, and Prime Minister Imran Khan assured the Hindus that not only the perpetrators of the attack will be brought to justice, the Hindu temple will be restored by the state itself. Chief Minister Punjab, Sardar Osman Buzdar, as Chief Executive of the province, ordered immediate arrest of attackers and assured that state will protect its minorities. And Imran Khan delivered on his promise today on National Minorities Day. Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry announced the reopening of the temple and said the government of Pakistan attaches great importance to the rights of minorities and will ensure liberties in accordance with the Constitution. Dr. Ramesh Kumar, Patron-in-Chief of Pakistan Hindu Council and PTI representative in the Parliament, visited the Ganesh Temple after completion of its restoration work. Pakistan is not perfect. It has its share of problems, but what it does have is the will of state to protect its citizens without discrimination of any kind, and that is what makes Pakistan a better place.